Welcome to another edition of Superkickin with Steven and Greg. Right here, Steven and Greg, your favorite wrestling host, favorite podcast host, favorite whatever you want to insert title there. Greg rocking the Blazers gear over there. He has not jumped ship. He is hoping for the mojo to work to get a trade happening, which we talked about off air. So, Greg, give the people what they want to hear about this rumor and rumblings. And I will give the latest and greatest on my Pacers real quick. And then we'll jump right into people that have been cut. Because, nothing beats Greg talking about people that lost their job over the week. So we will start right there with the quick Blazers, Suns, Heat. Are the Heat involved as well?
Yeah, well, nope. The Heat are involved in this big rumor that's catching fire right now. The Heat, or the rumor is that Portland is ready to trade Dame Lillard within the next days. Very, very, very soon. Tomorrow could be later today, but very, very soon. And with that, it's going to signal the blowing the whole program up and starting over from scratch. And with Lillard gone, they're starting over fresh because he's the face of the franchise. And he's going to be gone. Portland's not really going anywhere as a team, and so why not, collect assets and start over? So once Lillard's move, and with Miami as the number one location, Phoenix has been seen as the third team in the mix as a three-way trade, and also with the leaving Portland with Lillard is going to be Yusuf Nurkic, their big man. And they're interested in DeAndre Ayton in return. Phoenix has said the whole summer that, we're keeping Ayton, but that's because they've never got any really good deals or offers for him. And, he's under contract. They're not going to take pennies on the dollar. And they figure he can fit in the system, but his 5 years on the team, he's been hot and cold. Yeah. Some days he shows up to play, some days he doesn't. And that's been the most frustrating thing about him. He's super talented, but when he wants to be. Yeah. So he's a little lazy, perception-wise. Not saying he truly is, but that's perception, is that he's been lazy. His numbers kind of reflect that. And he's still a young kid. He's only, 5 years in. He's probably 25, 26, somewhere in that ballpark. So he's still approaching his prime. Nurkic is in his prime. He's about 29, and he's an all-star. So if this actually happens and Lillard leaves, Nurkic is next, and they start over with the youth movement. And so Phoenix is now the prime location for Nurkic. Swap him out for Ayton, and now you put him in the mix with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker and Bradley Beal. Nurkic is just a guy who goes out, grabs his rebounds, blocks shots, and he's just straight defense. And so that's what they want. That fourth guy on the totem pole nobody's going to be saying we need to get that guy touches. So that's the important thing. Just keep him under the basket, grabbing rebounds, and that's what he does. He averages double digits and rebounds a game. That's what they want. So he was never available in the beginning, and now his name has come up with Lillard about to leave town. So that's the hot rumor going around, and we're hoping that actually happens. Being a longtime Suns fan, go ahead, make the move, send Ayton out, bring Nurkic in, and just solidify that whole squad. So super excited. It should happen within the next couple of days. So keep my fingers crossed, putting on my Portland gear, send that energy out. Let's do this thing and lock up my team for an appearance in the finals this year.
And kind of crazy because Portland was kind of that up and coming team just a couple years ago. I thought they won it like as an eighth seed to move on in the playoffs, but after that, just never. I think did they get rid of McCollum or he got traded?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the big power duo was him and Lillard.
Yep.
So then on my end, of course, well, it's funny you bring up Ayton because if we remember, the Pacers signed Ayton to an offer sheet and the Suns matched it. So there's our little connection there. But so obviously the Pacers won him, Greg, but just didn't make the Suns wanted to keep him around for some reason, right? And like you said, trying to probably use as trade bait, which is also what Buddy Hield is becoming. It sounds like in my Pacers town. Not sure if you saw it, Greg, but there was extension talks that possibly stalled out, and now it's probably going towards us trade him and get something for nothing because I think this is his last contract or last year of his contract. So obviously you don't want to lose him, for nothing at free agency next year. And he was always the kind of just extra bargaining chip, I thought, in the big trade that gave us Halliburton. So I kind of thought he was going to be moved a long time ago, Greg. But he shoots ridiculously high from 3-point range, so that was nice to see. And and he's best friends with Halliburton, so I think that gave him that gave Halliburton a comfort zone getting here.
Mhm.
So if he gets traded, he gets traded. If he sticks around and they sign him to extension, Greg, I'm happy either way. I do think it's probably best to get some younger pieces for him right now, just because I'm afraid you'll just lose him next year. And then
Makes sense.
if you look at Halliburton, I mean, he's been playing with Team USA. Who's saying they're not doing the old doing like this, Greg? Talking to each other under away far away. So who knows if Halliburton can bring somebody in free agency in next summer. So if Buddy Hield goes away, it's not like I'm going to be like, oh my God, like the team is done. I think it kind of makes sense. Because like I said, I thought he would have been moved last year, honestly. So, we still got Halliburton. We got good draft picks. We have Turner locked in. Jordan Awar, who's kind of a nice pickup piece from Milwaukee. You got the buddy Brian Brown, Bruce Brown, not Bruce Bowen, who everybody wants to bring up, Greg. Heck, if we had Bruce Bowen back in the day, Greg, we probably would have went a little bit farther on defense. But anyway, so we got some really nice pieces. Benedict Matherin, second-year guy. Andrew Nemhart, second-year guy. So yeah, I'm not too worried. Like I said, if they make it work, they make it work. If not, give him a good trade, place. Do right by that end. So.
Right.
But speaking of guys and girls no longer with WWE, Greg. We had Wednesday or Thursday it was. The names on the right kind of came out. We also had some NXT guys like Shanky and Ulisa Leon, I think it was. A couple other Quincy Elliott, who was kind of I felt like he played like an Adam Rose type character, Greg, or No Way Jose. So, but the big name on Thursday was Dolph Ziggler. I thought, that 20-year veteran almost of WWE. Dana Brooke, 10-year veteran, Greg, which I didn't even realize. Hard to believe she's been around 10 years between NXT and WWE. Ali was a big name. Aaliyah, you talked about her, Greg, a few times.
Yep.
She still will hold it, Greg, until otherwise, but she does have the quickest pin ever. We got the happy couple in Emma and Riddick Moss. They will go travel the world together, Greg, and do whatever they're going to do. Rick Boog, Shelton Benjamin. But I think yesterday was the bigger deal. Matt Riddle finally getting the axe because I don't know if you follow, wrestling Twitter as much as I do, Greg. I'm sure you do, but there's been a dark cloud over Matt Riddle for
Hmm.
a bit of time, and just little things that seemed like they kept getting swept under the rug. And I think the final straw had to be that whatever happened at that airport, either it was him, I don't know, trying to get attention or something happened. It just that whole thing, Greg, that was just weird, and nobody still knows the bottom of it. His divorce seemed kind of messy, and kind of losing the ability to see his kids as often as he would like. That probably did not weigh heavily because when you first saw him and his now ex-wife and kids, I mean, there was a lot of pictures of them together, Greg. So it's not like he, was this, he was a good, he seemed like a good dad. Wanted to be there for his kids, wanted to be there for his wife. Divorce has happened, and now being rumored. Well, now he's with a adult film star. Now she's pregnant, Greg. I don't know. It just seems there's a lot going on personally that he's got to get cleaned up. And I don't even know. I don't even think AEW is going to take him on right away. And that's probably saying a lot for where his talent truly is, Greg. Dana White, I saw there was a couple of clips from Dana White that does not like the guy at all. But you got to think, well, UFC, WWE, even though they're on the same umbrella, Greg, they're still two different entities. Whatever Dana has to say about him is what it is. So, but I think Riddle's the biggest name, you know, and look at people like, well, where's Ziggler go? I'm like, I think he's going to kind of do some. I see him as Jericho trying to do the Hollywood thing. Maybe get some acting roles or his comedy. He loves doing his comedy stuff. But I think Ali is the guy I'd really like to see. And Xavier Woods tweeted this out. He wants to see him with the shackles off, which we do know
Hmm.
can be a bad thing, i.e., Miro. Miro's first, his beginning run to AEW. But I think Ali's got a lot of good ideas, and it would be cool to see him, kind of let that come to fruition. But I also see Ali maybe doing the Matt Cardona route and just going to the Indies and killing it, doing what he wants to do. So Emma will probably end up in Impact Wrestling, maybe AEW if they give a shot. I could see Dana Brooke in Impact because Impact seems to be the not misfit toys, Greg, but they seem to give a lot of women a chance. So I could see Dana Brooke
Yeah.
up there, but Shelton Benjamin, I mean, sorry, it's probably going to be the convention route. Do some signings, maybe show up here and there. But and as far as Rick Boogs and Riddick Moss, Greg, well, that's Rick Boogs and Riddick Moss. So I think Riddick might go wherever Emma goes, and that'll probably be just chauffeuring her wherever she gets up, wherever she ends up wrestling wise. Because I just don't see a really good spot for him right now. So, that's kind of my take on all of it, and I'll let you have your take, Greg, and then we'll kind of move on from there and see where you think guys or girls may land.
Yeah, it's a bummer with Riddle being gone because he was a huge talent, and we made fun of him a bit because he came up fun of NXT and went into the comedy role and being just like a airhead, prototypical surfer dude
Yeah.
thing, and he wasn't really taken seriously until Arcade Bro came around.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when he had that couple matches with Randy that put him on the map and pretty much on Randy's level.
Mm-hmm.
And then the tag team took off, and his work was taken a lot seriously, and he wasn't just a goof off, lame character with bad one liners backstage. We
Yeah.
started enjoying his matches, and when he was put in the spotlight with the top stars, then he started to show out, and we could see that he's just not another Santino or
Oh yeah.
another R-Truth, or we could really go and give us some emotional depth so we could buy into him.
Yeah.
And he's just one of those characters where his outside life just bleeds way too much into his on camera life. And even at his age, because I think he's still in his 30s or something, he probably still doesn't have the maturity, or thinks he's bigger than he is, or there's definitely some ego with him.
Yeah.
And even if half of what the stories are true, it's still too much, too many.
Yeah.
I haven't heard about the airport deal, but I've heard about the on that trip from somewhere on a bus with the NXT talent, him forcing a female to do something she didn't want to do, and just being too friendly with the women, and it not being in a reciprocal fashion. There's a lot of that going around. I saw under a post talking about his release, Sasha Banks had a response that said "We won" in all capital letters. So there's kind of a Me Too kind of thing going on among the female talent in regards to him. But he had gotten big, on the wheels of Arcade Bro, and guys were, the management were leaving him alone because he'd been able to level up and put himself into a stratosphere where he's just not another lower mid card guy. He's a top draw now, and so he maybe got some more, became a little more bulletproof, whether he didn't need to be.
I mean, they gave him the title shot against Roman on SmackDown, and
Right.
Seth kind of put down the wall because him and Seth had some real life stuff going on. So, it, like you said, it just seems like a big waste. Not, we're not going to say he wasn't booked right, Greg, because he was given all the chances. If you think.
Oh yeah. So, he was put in the high
and
profile.
he delivered, but it also, like we said, I think the last few months have been, I don't know, just real iffy for him. So
yeah, he wasn't just in the mid card; he was in the main event programs, and you don't get the main event programs unless everybody at the top wants you there. So
you're showing the right.
He'd done his part and earned his way in there, but he's got too big for his britches, and finally the all that chatter and him being a little too handsy with the women, and it's finally caught up with him, and he's just seen as a very toxic character right now.
Do you see him ending up anywhere?
Right now, no. I think he needs to lay low, and hopefully he invested his money well, and he can take some time off and let this blow over. And then 6-7 months from now, when AEW has their big card to offset WrestleMania, he can pop up for something like that. Or
I don't even know if I say it's the end of his time. I could see him back in WWE if he gets his act straight. I mean, obviously they believe something in him now, unless somebody unless there's maybe Vince didn't make the final call. Maybe there was some. Now that Vince and Dana are kind of underneath, right? There's even a top head honcho over them. So I don't think it's anytime soon, but
I think even a Japan run might be something that he needs, because he can go out to Japan, reinvent himself, kind of way Jericho did when he left WWE. He went out to Japan and did the Paymaker gimmick and just recreated himself all over. Again, he's the master of makeover. But Riddle could definitely do something like that. Just switch up his whole gimmick, his whole look, and learn a new style altogether, and then come back as something completely different. In a big promotion. So something like that you can definitely do. I don't think he's going to return to MMA, but maybe that's an option for him. I mean, there's more to.
Wouldn't that be a weird? I'm just going to go the other side.
Hey, but
I guess there are other MMA besides UFC, right?
Yeah, for sure. There's more to life than just UFC.
Yeah.
There's Bellator still happening. They may be merging with the Professional Fighters League pretty soon, and they're gaining some traction.
Bare knuckle,
Um,
right? Combat, which
it,
we
exactly. Yep.
we have some ties with here at the network.
Yes, sir. So Dan the man can tell you more about that.
Maybe we should get him in touch with Dan. Get him on a bare knuckle card. I'm
Exactly.
sure
I mean,
his asking price is probably going to be a little high though.
yeah, but he's been there. He's done that. He's got some wins in the UFC. He's shown he's a legitimate cage fighter. So
Yeah.
he has some avenues he could go down. So
I am going
I
to
think
check
he
his
needs to take
age
some
because
time.
I'm curious how old he is.
Yeah, I am too. Because I'm sure he's looks younger than he is, but I'd say he's probably like mid-30s right now. But that's still a
37.
baby in this
Oh, he's
world.
older than I thought. 37, Greg.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense because he had a pretty. How long was his run in UFC?
Probably not too long. A couple years
Okay,
maybe.
okay, but maybe mid-20s for that.
But long enough to stack some wins, and his character got him some attention, not all
Yeah,
the best attention, but he
yeah.
was very loud and outspoken, and he was Conor McGregor without the charisma, so um, that draws a picture for you.
And he does have the
But
adult star girlfriend, Greg. So he
hey,
might
there you go.
he might pursue other interests. We'll just say that.
Right, so only his fans can see what he's doing, kind of thing.
I hate saying it for Dana Brooke, Greg, but I could see Dana Brooke going the exclusive content route.
Yeah, I mean, she's got Mandy Rose to always dial
Yeah.
her up and
And
say, "How you doing?"
Lacey Evans has her own out there, so it's a good avenue if you're attractive, and plenty of people probably find Dana Brooke somewhat attractive. So, do you think maybe Aaliyah might be a good impact knockout, Greg, kind of like that underdog, spunky character that they could use.
She absolutely could, and it's one of the few hashtags I didn't get over. Hashtag Justice for Aaliyah,
Mm-hmm.
and the Aaliyah 316 never got off the ground. Didn't make my way to the writers' room to make that happen. But
yeah, they weren't listening to us then.
You can't win them all, but she could definitely. I'd see her as an impact knockout, or on NWA.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I don't know if I see her in AEW yet.
No, definitely not. She's too small, and she's a little too good girl. She definitely needs an image makeover, and I think someplace like Impact.
They already have like Sky Blue, who fits that role. They got Willow Nightingale. So I mean, you already kind of have that, different avenue. What do you think about Ziggler? What do you foresee him anywhere?
Not right away. He's been 19 years in the business. He got shout outs from The Rock and John Cena. 19 is like the second or third most TV matches in the history of the company.
Yeah, I think they said 1,500 matches.
So hopefully, he's been there, almost 20 years, made a ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
So again, hope he's, saved his dollars well, invested, and doesn't need to work.
And good friends with Cardona, so I could see him going out and doing some indie dates with Cardona.
Absolutely, no doubt. I mean,
I don't know if he'll do the hardcore stuff though.
Yeah, but he can do some more heel stuff. I always loved him better as a heel than as trying to be a baby face and show off. So him and Cardona as a heel tag team would be a natural.
Yeah. Now I will say the 24, when he was the Survivor Series where Sting debuted, Greg, and he was starting to take off as a face, that could have been a good run for him. True. But there was, because then him and Luke Harper had the ridiculously good ladder match for the IC title. I think he was the IC title holder. Then Luke Harper got or switched. So one of the two. They fought it back and forth. but it just wasn't wasn't in the cards, as they say. So
Yeah, but he's doing well. He's got a little stand-up comedy career
yeah,
going.
and I could see
He's
that
trying to
being a
break into
thing.
politics.
Yeah,
So he's got a lot of stuff he can do, and maybe he'll just go down those roads instead of having to get beat up every night. If I had that cachet, I'd do it. So
and his brother's in AW, so he could end up there, but his brother doesn't even get on TV, Greg. So
right,
he gets on BTE a lot. I'll say that much. But yeah, I think he's been on some. He was on AW. He was a big dark and elevation guy, but I don't think we've seen him on Collision, or I mean, or Rampage that much. Now that that's become kind of that. So, what about Shelton Benjamin? Any thoughts on him?
Yeah, I think convention circuit for him. I don't know how much attention he's going to get from. Definitely not from AEW, and um, even Impact maybe like I don't know, but
I guess I could see Impact just because it's a name.
Yeah, I think I see Emick or Emma and Riddick as a lock for Impact, seeing as how she was great as Tennille Dashwood,
She's all right.
and she was one of the biggest, biggest best women on their roster.
Mm-hmm.
She could go right back to that, and bring him along, as a package deal. So, being the villain, husband, wife, kind of team, kind of like Cardona and his woman did.
Oh yeah.
So, something like that could definitely be in the cards. So I definitely see they have a greater chance of being back in Impact than Shelton Benjamin. So
yeah, I see Shelton just being maybe picking up some indie stuff here and there, or just kind of do what he can. But it's another guy. I mean, could he be gone that long? You know what? You just wonder if maybe they might bring him back if there's something that they really think they can cook with him. So, and like I said, I think Ali is I think Ali's the name I want to see, where he's what he'll do, where he goes. So.
Yeah, I'm curious about it. He got some opportunities.
Yeah.
Well,
he's scheduled for No Mercy.
I was liking what he was doing in NXT, and being the troublemaker, pot stirrer.
Yeah.
And his matches were really good. He had some definite some misfires going on. The whole retribution thing.
Yeah.
Started hot and then just fizzled out. Him trying to be the computer mastermind who could mess with the cameras backstage and be the big whistleblower kind of dude. That didn't go over. But it showed some different angles on his character. So at least there was that. But, most of the ideas that went around for him didn't turn out very well. So whether that was him or creative, it's just a matter of, just keeping those ideas flowing and finding somebody who's willing to let you run with it.
And once he hit
the
free agent, Greg, remember what we said. See in your future endeavors, because that free agent thing just felt like we don't really know where we want to put you, So
I think the other
surprised Baron Corbin didn't get the call actually.
Yeah, I think the other promotion is going to be like that with him too. It's like I don't know what to do with you.
That could be, yeah.
Ali has a good look. He's good in the ring, but it's just I think he was almost doomed from the start because he's getting him over to an American audience, and got a guy who's Middle Eastern, and
I guess that is when is that stigma going to be finally taken away?
And that's the same thing with Shanky and those guys that they didn't really get a fighting chance, and some really bad ideas. The whole dancing Shanky thing.
Mansoor and Massey were on the chopping block as well, Greg. But
right.
I don't necessarily see a place for them either. I think there are a lot of indie dates for them. So
yeah.
But Well, and this, of course, Greg, came on the heels of. Sorry, I have to laugh at this because you cut people on the day that you signed a deal worth 1.4 billion. That's billion with a B dollars. So you're cutting people, Greg. That probably make no difference to your bottom line, but you're going to sign a deal anyway. So next year in October, we will get SmackDown back to USA, which people are always like, okay, what does that mean for Raw and NXT? For the love of it, Greg, I hope they all end up on USA. Because I don't, I like having one network for all my shows, but it is what it is. I understand TV. Well, I don't understand TV deals because I'm not in that world, but I understand that money talks, and that's probably what they'll do. So, and then I think it was also announced they'll do 4 primetime shows, probably for NBC. So we might get some, old school Saturday Night Main Event or kind of like Battle of the Belts now on NBC. It sounds like, or maybe USA. But yeah, that's all I got, Greg, on that end. Because like we said, I'm not in that world, so it's hard to know. But would you like to see Raw or NXT stick around on USA, or it is what it is?
I'm with you. I wish it would all just go to USA and they would handle all of the content for WWE. Where
Like NBC overall.
Yeah, they're doing great with Peacock, and I'm sure they're seeing tons of trash or tons of traction to the Peacock brand just off WWE alone. And why wouldn't you want more of that by pulling in all 3 brands and just having total autonomy over the network? I think it's the best thing. I think it makes the most sense. It's easy to get to. Every cable company has USA under in its portfolio, and more households, the better. Is it going to happen? I doubt it. I think somebody else is going to want in on the pie. I've seen Disney wants in. I've seen Amazon wants in. And WWE is going to sell to the highest bidder. And now with Endeavor spearheading this whole deal with UFC and WWE, there's going to be some changes at the top, and that's why we find all this huge billion-dollar deal and 20, 25 guys getting cut.
Well, it's to make money for Nia Jax. They had to back up the Brinks check for her, Greg.
There you go.
Actually, it might be to help pay for Jade, because who knows what the hell kind of deal she got, right?
She's definitely would be one of the highest paid women on the roster, that's for sure.
I'm sure she's got a decent deal happening. So
I think as it is when any company takes over, they're going to bring in their own people, put them at the top, and then they're going to want their people. So I can imagine a boardroom with all these guys in suits, and they maybe have 8x10s of all of the guys and girls on the roster, and they're looking, and just off face value, they're going yes, no, with maybe a quarter of them having wrestling knowledge and being actual consumers of the wrestling product. I think more than half of them probably don't consume the product. That's my fear, because that's going to be more people on a Riddle level getting cut. While Riddle can be justified, I think there may be some more names in the pipeline that we're going to look at and go, why? Why would they drop this guy? So I'm hoping I'm wrong, and the people who are, in charge actually know the product and watch the product, consume the product, and are making educated choices. And I know Triple H is in there to, advocate on a more of a minion level. He doesn't have a seat at the executive, board table, same as Dana White does it. But, when they at least run this by him and Nick Khan, and who know all the wrestlers intricately, and they can go, no, you want to keep this guy because A, B, C, D, or they're at least pulling up their highlight reels or the promos and seeing this is why you should keep this guy, or do we like this guy, making informed decisions. So I'm hoping that's what's going on, but the skeptic in me thinks they're probably just pulling up 8x10s and looking at these guys and going, what's with this guy, or that kind of thing, and just judging them off of face value. But based on the guys that are dropped so far, I can't say that. So we'll wait and see if there's bigger names that come through the pipeline, and that'll more prove my point if that's the case. But smaller NXT talent and little use,
TV talent.
Wrestlers. Right now it looks like the right, you can call them right moves are being made as far as cuts and guys that aren't on TV now anyway. So fingers crossed that the people in Endeavor know what they're doing. They've done great for UFC, and hopefully they can do the same thing for WWE.
And like you look at Matt Cardona as a perfect example. That release allows you a lot of freedom, Greg, to go out and do your own thing, and you're more marketable. You're more you're wanted more. So yeah. I mean, you can name your price if you do it right. So that's what I was saying. For Ali, I think it'd be kind of cool. And like I do understand the Middle Eastern stigma attached to him, which is always why I was always hoping he'd get that chance, Greg. Because how are we going to break that stigma if you don't show us that?
Right.
Not everybody's Muhammad Hassan. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. And those days should be long gone. I mean, let's face it. So.
It's worked out for the Latino wrestlers, the Lucha Libre wrestlers, and look how many of them have broken through. But it hasn't happened for the Middle Eastern guys yet.
So, looking at Raw, we had some stuff go down. A lot of Cody Rhodes. he was a big presence, Greg. So let's kind of talk about his night. Him and Dirty Dom were going back and forth. He did defeat Dirty Dom. He also helped Jay at the end. The Judgment Day attacked Jey Uso because he didn't join them, obviously. Drew McIntyre refused to help Greg. I kind of still think we might get Drew. I thought we were going to heal, but you wonder if, like, a War Games ends up having Drew, siding with the faces, Greg, just to kind of give him something to do. He did defeat Jey Uso in the main event. Pretty cool for Jey Uso, Still getting the crowd love, Greg. I keep wondering, is the shoe going to drop? But I think as long as they present Jay alongside Cody, alongside guys like Drew, I think he'll be fine. Because I really want him and Jimmy in the best spotlight they can for their one-on-one. We don't need this as just an undercard type. Even if it's not a main event, Greg, I still want to present it as a top match, if that makes sense. So, I think both guys are being positioned hopefully for that. And like we said, showdowns at Survivor Series possibly, or a face-off here and there at, Royal Rumble only builds that anticipation for them to just lock horns and go at it. But, looking at Raw, it was Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso kind of hanging together. And like I said, and we also got to bring up Kevin Owens, Greg. I love Kevin Owens in the role that he remembers the most. Usually we have guys with very selective memories, Greg. But Kevin Owens, I love the promo he cut because he's like, oh, I'm just supposed to forget this happened. And I'm supposed to forget that this happened. And of course, me in my mind, I'm not always the best at remembering things, Greg. So I was like, oh yeah, that did happen. So Kevin Owens is being presented as a logical wrestler, which is not the logical move usually. So kind of break down some of that stuff, those little pieces. Sorry, threw a lot at you, Greg, but you're good at it. So give us your own take kind of at those bits and pieces of Raw, and then we'll get into the rest.
No, it's just great drama. I love the angle they're taking with Jay. He's here, but, there's not a lot of people that want him here. The Bloodline left a big, bloody path of destruction on SmackDown and Raw. A lot of guys took beatdowns from the Bloodline. and now it's his turn to pay for his sins in a way. So now he's meeting all this resistance, and it's a great arc to start with. He's one of the top guys just by being there, but now even the baby faces aren't enjoying the fact that he's there.
Yeah.
So it's an angle that hasn't we haven't seen often. It's new, it's fresh, and it makes perfect sense because we remember these encounters that they had with everybody.
Yeah.
What they put Sammy and Kevin through, what they put Drew through, Classic the Castle, um, and all these guys are now be looking at him and go, remember when? Okay, now
Yeah.
we have to. Now we're gonna have to get my little pound of flesh for that. So it's great angle. I love it, and it's natural. It just makes sense. It's not forced. And Cody being the guy who, you know, stood up for him, brought him in, and he's the one who's going to have to make the save for him for a while because, even babyface Drew is watching him take this beat down and going, this is kind of what you get. How many nights that we go to black with the bloodline beating the crap out of somebody,
Yep.
and now how's it taste? How's that feel? Now how what it was like for us. And so it's great. I love it. And this played out perfectly with Drew on the ramp, just kind of watching over his shoulder. And you can see the conflict in his brain, but he still didn't go to hell. I'm like, don't do it. Just stay there. Don't go. And just make it that much more real because he remembers losing his championship opportunities because of the Usos. And you can see that on his face. He's like, this is what you get.
Yeah.
So I love it, and it's going to end up being with a handful of those stars aligning with Team J eventually, but not right now. Let him take his lumps, let him earn his way into the locker room. And these beatdowns, you brought it on yourself. Um,
It'll
so
probably lead to Survivor Series. I think Jey Uso is going to have a big night there. Because Survivor Series is usually a coming out party. I mean, look at Sami Zayn in War Games. He had to kind of prove his worth. So you kind of see Jey Uso have to do that.
yeah,
Unless you go SmackDown route, maybe you make Jimmy, kind of rejoining the bloodline. But yeah. Kofi Kingston defeated Ivar. We're still kind of building that feud. Greg, I want to know your thoughts on Nakamura and Seth Rollins. What kind of match are we getting? Because I feel like we got to get a stipulation. I, I, I wish there was something different we could throw out there just with this whole back. I guess a good way would be an ambulance or stretcher match, right? Like, is that we haven't seen one of those in a little bit, so that feels like
hmm
a viable one. But any other thoughts on your own end about what kind of match we could have for them too?
um, I like that they mentioned that this is going to have, or Seth put out there. You can
Any
have
match
your
I want.
stipulation. So that definitely means we're going to get one.
I guess last
And
man standing.
yeah, something like a last man standing. I don't know how many lights out matches WWE does. I know they're very few and far between. Um, but a lights out match, anything
Not
goes.
sanctioned.
Right. Um,
Because we could do a non-sanctioned and maybe make it not for the title, and then that really just gives it that like, okay, they're just fighting for survival.
well, that's true, but Nakamura wants the title, so
Yeah,
when he calls his shot, he's going to want a title match.
yeah.
Um, so last man standing or probably a no DQ
Yeah.
type match makes sense.
But hopefully
Um,
they give it that umph too. Like we saw in the the Terry Funk Invitational, one table was used. And I was like, okay, let's we gotta we're not gonna revisit that again. So, um, yeah, but how about the
yeah.
return of so Nia Jax? Greg is just taking out the whole women's division. That's probably the best way to present her right now, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, let her be dominant and let her beat. I thought it was funny she was beating up the girls who are claiming to be the baddest
Yeah.
in the women's division with Shayna and Zoe. Um, so I like what they're doing with her, and she got a lot of heat for that Nia bomb that she hit on Rhea Ripley, and um,
And to keep
yeah,
Rhea out, which is nice. Don't have her back. Like, hopefully that's the type of stuff we start seeing. Give it a week or two. And not
yeah,
even with Dom on NXT, which was a good way to really build that, Nia's legit. So,
yeah, and she heard all the talk about not being safe and all that stuff, and you know, it's all talk, and haters gonna hate kind of
yeah.
thing,
Oh, yeah.
and let her be big bad and let her be the unstoppable force again. So I like what they're doing with her, and when Rhea comes back, and we're gonna have a Clash of the Titans kind of deal. So a female house fight. So
You still
we
throw
are for it.
Raquel in there. Give us a couple triple threat matches if you're not ready to pull the trigger on her yet. But
Right. And
how
then
about,
where's Jake going to fit in?
yeah,
Because there's another one you can throw into the mix.
I think I like her on SmackDown because you have Bianca there, you have Charlotte, Io, Asuka. I mean, there's some good talent for her to really step up with. Especially if we're going to stay on Fox for the next year, Greg. I think that'd be good exposure for Jade on Fox. So you kind of wonder if she's going to be pushed more towards SmackDown. But let's
Right.
bring up the other women's stuff real quick. So I read Greg Natalia was given this title shot as a token of appreciation. That's all. That's all we'll
uh,
say there. I won't wish you lost her job, Greg. But if Natalia would have been on that list, I wouldn't have been sad. I'll just say that because Natalia's overstayed her welcome. Like, you could have had any other woman in this shot, Greg, and apparently Becky fought for Tegan Knox to get it. And I
mhm.
think that would have been a big opportunity just to get in there. So it kind of sucks of all the women on the roster, and you throw out
Right.
Natalia. So I think we
Exactly.
agree, Greg, that is all that needs to be settled there.
Yeah, totally agree. Because you had the moment of anticipation. Who's it going to be? And then
And you
she
get
comes out.
Natalia. It's like wet, whatever they call it, wet or wet rag on the situation. Dirty sock on
Exactly.
the situation. But is Chad Gable's momentum gone, Greg? Now that he got beat by Bronson, and if we look at Ciampa beating up Imperium guys, that really makes me worry. Justice for
Well,
Chad.
oh, you started the hashtag. Okay. Nice, nice.
Well, because we have Ciampa beating Vinci, then Ciampa's going to beat Kaiser, and he's going to want that shot. So does that ruin Gable's momentum for it?
No, I think they're literally doing. You have to start at the back of the line and
Okay,
work your way
yeah,
back to the top.
yeah.
And so we're going to try to get a yes movement kind of organic push for him. And he's already got a head of steam going on. He's taking a couple L's,
He
but
shouldn't need that much, I guess.
exactly. So he goes and he wins, some high profile matches. He gets right back in the mix. Maybe wins some number one contenders match, 3-4 way number one contenders match, gets right back there. And boom, he gets his
His
next
final
and
shot.
final opportunity. Right. So
I
I
don't
see
know.
something like that happen in
I
another
still
month
want
or
him to
month and a
beat.
half.
I still want him to beat Gunther, have his daughter there, all that good stuff. I mean, we need a feel good moment, right? We didn't get with Cody. We didn't get with Sammy. We haven't got it. It's just been like, okay. We kind of got it. Like Seth winning the consolation prize was okay. But I don't know. We just need one of those really, like legit showings. I mean, yeah. But yeah, that was some Raw stuff. NXT, a lot of the Heritage Cup stuff, Greg. So we had Butch won. He beat Tyler Bate. A nice show of respect afterwards.
Yeah.
Duke Hudson beat Joe Coffey, but that ended up tying everybody. So they had Joe Coffey defeat Nathan Frazier and Duke Hudson. Not really sure why that was a call, but whatever. So we got Butch and Joe Coffey, which is kind of where I liked it, Greg, because like I said, we needed somebody besides Nathan Frazier to just get another shot. So it's either going to be Joe Coffey or Butch. I'm probably leaning towards Butch, just so that I feel like they want Noam Dar to kind of keep it right. So, which way do you think you're going, Greg? Butch or Joe Coffey to officially win this Heritage Cup Invitational?
No, Butch for sure. I still want him to reclaim his name and go back to Pete Dunne. You heard the bruiserweight chants during his matches.
Yep.
I still like a return to the bruiserweight. Pete Dunne. Just go all the way back and let him reclaim it. But yeah, I'd definitely take him over Joe Coffey, even if Joe Coffey is definitely a hoss. And he put down some good matches. I thought that they were good, solid matches. But I'll take Butch every day.
Probably good positioning for Joe Coffey too, because we hadn't really seen him do much other than do some henchman work. Even though he's kind of leader of Gallus, so kind of cool for him to stand up on his own stuff. Roxanne won. We also had Carmelo Hayes and Dominic in a no contest because Ilya Dragunov got involved, Greg. The good old, let's throw the people into the person sitting outside the ring. Because it was that thing, too. The champion versus champion is a hard sell sometimes because you don't want one champion to go over. Especially with Dom being so fresh as a champion, Greg, I think I don't necessarily think I would kill him, but it's that's why champion versus champion is just a weird moniker for me. So, any thoughts on that aspect?
No, I agree. I'm kind of not surprised that that's how it ended. Nobody wants Dominic to have the title, so it only makes sense they leave it on him, and he's definitely not good enough to beat Carmelo, so it makes perfect sense that that's the way they went with it. Nobody wants to see him pinning Carmelo either. Finn, yes. Dominic, no. So it makes perfect sense to do it that way and just kind of leave it incomplete. But, you got a good match out of it.
Yeah. And then finally, like I've said, Greg, someone is in love with Lyra because, man, she is getting she's getting shoved down our throats in every little aspect of big time stuff. So she ends up being the tag team partner for Becky. They defeat Kiana James, Tiffany Stratton. Then we get the little nugget, Greg, that No Mercy match between Tiffany and Becky will be an Extreme Rules match. Could this be Tiffany's kind of like coming out party, Greg, for an overall wrestler? Just because I kind of think back to Randy Orton when they had this, an Edge had this, they're never going to take big falls. They're never going to do big bumps. And then they had to, Edge had to get Foley. And we know what Edge went through, a flaming table. And then Orton, like they said, the shot of Orton getting thumbtacked is always one that will be ingrained in my brain. I don't think we see anything like that, Greg. But, we haven't seen Tiffany in a really legit fight yet. So is this kind of her coming out party for that aspect?
Yeah, it definitely could be. I was thinking of Extreme Rules when we were talking about Seth and Nakamura, but we don't want to go to that well so soon between so close together. But I'd love it, and I think that it definitely could be her coming out party. And I wish they would do it on Raw and SmackDown so more people would see it. But I think it's going to be awesome. Hey, right? It's going to be a banger, and like I said, we haven't seen Tiffany in a real banger yet, so I'm excited for it. I think this would definitely be her launch pad onto the main roster.
And No Mercy is on. I was trying to check the date. So it's September 30th, which is actually next Saturday night. So that'll be kind of nice, the Saturday night event that we'll be able to watch because I think Wrestle Dream is the next night. So yeah. And then SmackDown. So all about John Cena, AJ Styles, Solo Sikoa, Jimmy Uso. Some bad news, Greg, for our guy, LA Knight, your guy, I know. He got the vid. That's why he was not there last night. So fingers
Oh,
crossed.
really?
They ruled him out. He tested positive, which I didn't realize. I mean, I didn't know we were still testing. Like, like I've had a couple of moments, Greg, like this, past couple of months. I'm like, oh man, my throat's coming. Should I test myself? And I just haven't. But obviously they're in a much more pressure. They gotta. If you feel it, you're probably going to test. So LA Knight, I still think, Greg, we're going to get LA Knight in the role of tag team partner for John Cena. They're going to kill Solo and Jimmy at Fastlane here in Indianapolis 2 weeks from today. So that'll be a lot of fun to see. Maybe see what LA Knight and John Cena can kind of team up together, Greg. But we didn't see it last night because, like we said, because I think we got 2 weeks away. So if you give LA Knight another week, you could probably bring him back that night before, and be okay, insert him to that match. So maybe John Cena just says, "I'm going to take you one," or maybe even that night of. I mean, we not like we've been unheard of in that aspect, Greg. So, but I still think LA Knight will be the one because I would have loved to see John Cena and AJ Styles go as a tag team, just kind of see how that would work. But obviously, I think with the fact that you knocked off AJ Styles last night, that is all Knight's move to be inserted into there. So, your own thoughts on that, Greg?
Bomber, man. I didn't get to watch SmackDown, so it's the first time hearing it. But
yeah,
LA Knight, no, you don't want something like this to.
No, that doesn't work.
No, it
So
doesn't.
hopefully he is all good and doesn't get any long term. I mean, we've heard about long term effects. So
Exactly, and we hope it's not that, and it's just something that's done in a week and a half, and you're back to full steam because this is the kind of thing that can kill your momentum. We had the thing with reason Kofi Mania started was because Ali was supposed to get pushed in that spot, and he got injured, and
we could think
worst timing ever.
Dropped him on his eyeball.
Okay. But didn't someone else lose their spot because they got sick?
I mean, Bray Wyatt. There was a couple moments I think with his run.
That's it. Yeah.
I think he was. I thought the Sister Abigail match, he was either sick or hurt. So yeah. But like you said, hopefully it's just a mild case, as they say. And I understand.
Yeah.
I also know the effects of COVID. Just from seeing people, and nothing's ever that mild. But like we said, just keep them off a couple weeks.
Right. So hopefully he's back. Because he's white hot, and he is one of the main reasons to watch SmackDown right now. So, I think he's could probably use that time to fine tune a little bit because I've seen been enjoying his promos, but he stops and he gets a little too caught up sometimes. So he needs to pace himself a little bit better and can take that time to sharpen his tools and work on that while he's coming back. But
maybe him and Cena can work on the double clothesline.
Hey, there's plenty of time for them to become best friends. Have Cena go to his house or.
Would that? Yeah, that would be so awesome if you could play up him being sick, and Cena's trying to get him to join him, but unfortunately we'll not go that route. Rey Mysterio and Escobar got a win over the Profits. We are not giving up on Lashley with the Profits already, Greg, are we?
No, absolutely not.
Because we had a little promo where it was backstage, but Lashley's like, I want the suits back, I want the ties back, I want everything back if you can't prove your worth. So we're gonna see some aggressiveness, I guess, from them hopefully soon. So but go ahead with your thought.
Yeah, that heel turn doesn't happen overnight for your traditional good guys. So it's going to take some, a nudge in the right direction, even to get to the dark side. So they're going to get there, and I like what they've the more aggressive, just stopping short of true heel.
Yeah.
But Bobby's going to get
Doing
him there,
enough.
and they're gonna, yeah, it's going to happen, and once it happens, we're going to know. So, and we're going to get her business 2.0 pretty soon. I think there's going to be another member or two
Yeah.
joining in, and it's going to be on from there. So
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to it.
Especially since Bianca, I think she needs a little something to do, so that'd be nice to see. Well, you need to go watch your hot Asian girlfriends go at it, Greg. But Asuka did get the win. Wait,
Yeah.
wait, that's wrong. Sorry, Io Sky got the win. Uh,
Uh,
the I love that the WWE official page made that mistake. So I should have noticed that until now. But anyways, Charlotte was out there to kind of even the odds. I was afraid, Greg, we would get the whole we're gonna throw Io Sky into Charlotte. She's gonna get involved, but she was more there to mess with Bailey. So we're gonna get Bailey and Charlotte next week. Um, yeah, which is fine. We need Charlotte doing other things until she is ready to get her 16th title, whatever it is. So, yeah, on that end. And then Austin Theory and Grayson Waller did defeat the Brawling Brutes. So, interesting. I guess they're going to push them as a tag team. Are you okay with that, Greg? Giving them that to do for the time being?
yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, Theory's been losing airtime, um, you know, more and more by the month. So
Yeah.
those two seem, you know, right for each other.
Yeah.
They look good as a team, and personality wise, they fit. So I think they make perfect sense together. They're going to be a great heel tag team.
Yeah. And like we said, something for them to do, kind of maybe make each other a little bit better in the wrong run. So that was SmackDown in a nutshell, as they say. Let's get our commercial breaks in the way. Get right into some AEW news. Uh, looks like I can find our brand stuff, but that looks like it's gone. Okay. All right. I guess we're just gonna go. Let's somehow do a commercial break. Oh, there it is. Elite Performance. Okay, it's still there. All right. We will do Elite Performance, and then we'll get right back into the AW talk. All right, so a couple big injury news, Greg. On Dynamite, we saw John Moxley not look right in that whole match. There was a moment that just didn't seem things were right. And then he loses the match, loses the title, which we can get into more, Greg, but suffered a mild concussion. And he said he's fine. Once again, I hate that word mild in front of concussion, Greg, because I feel like any concussion should be taken seriously. There's
Right.
there's no such thing as a mild concussion. But any thoughts on Moxley and I guess the title the title run, Greg, of Moxley, because that was definitely an audible called there.
Yeah, I mean, and you're totally right. A brain injury is a brain injury, and that's what a concussion is a brain injury. So, um, he has a concussion, and from what I saw and read online, that it happened on the at the very beginning of the match where Phoenix did a flip off the ramp onto Moxley and rung his bell. So, um, props to him for getting through the match
Yeah.
as it was. But yeah, definitely calling an audible for Phoenix to get the win. It made sense. I saw that first pin after the pile driver, and at the ref go 1, 2, and then
There was no shoulder up at all.
No, and then Excalibur covered for him like he involuntarily twitched or something,
Yeah.
and Phoenix said, okay, I'll drop him on his head again, boom, and letting the count happen this time. So I'm happy that Phoenix won because indirectly it evens the score. Moxley took out Phoenix a couple weeks ago, and now Phoenix gets his revenge, takes the title, and you can feed this into the storyline once Mox is back to 100%.
Do you think
Um,
Moxley gets it right back?
no, no, because he doesn't need it.
Well, that's
Um,
what's weird about, yeah. I mean, that was weird about everything all with it, right? Like him winning it in the first place.
I agree. You know, just the narrative that it took a John Moxley to beat Orange Cassidy makes sense, but he really doesn't need the title. He's already a made man. He's already like the toughest SOB, to steal a phrase,
Yeah.
on the AEW roster. So he doesn't need the belt to say that. Um, so I love it that Phoenix beat him. I, you know, love John Moxley and hope he's comes through just fine and is back in the ring in no time. But he's take the right amount of time to let that injury heal. He can cut some promos backstage in the meantime until he's totally 100% right. But
Maybe take that long awaited vacation.
yeah, he's definitely been running too
Renee has
hard
her
as it
way.
is.
She'll probably be like, "Get your ass home. Get on that couch. You're
Yep.
not until you're walking straight." Because, like we said, he was not walking. He was walking pretty gingerly. Now I think he did, at least get helped out of the ring and walked off on his own a little bit. So, speaking of not walking on his own, Greg, how about the little leap by Adam Cole, which looked to either sprain his ankle, twist his ankle, do something to his ankle, which is the same kind of thing that CM Punk had done when he jumped into the crowd, and kind of missed it. So man, we just gotta watch how we're jumping off things. But um, yeah, kind of bad news for Adam Cole if it's a long-term injury, right?
Yeah, they are definitely not the most graceful people, are they? We can't all be luchadors. Stop doing a Ray Phoenix impersonation, and you may survive.
Yeah,
And I get coming out and run out at the end of the match, but what in the world is the need for
the little jump.
the the jump off the ramp?
Yeah,
The ropes are right there. The stairs are right there. You can
just make your way to the
hustle
ring.
down those stairs and save yourself. So again, wrong moment, wrong time. For this kind of thing to happen when MJF and Cole is, one of
Such
the biggest
fire.
stories in AEW right now.
I mean,
So
I guess if he
yeah,
is injured, they'll build it up.
oh
Kind
yeah,
of like Pretty Deadly. They had a nice little segment, which I didn't even bring up, uh, where they were showing, Kit trying to work out and doing all this, or Elton Prince trying to do all this stuff, and the woman's like, he just, separated his shoulder. But he's like trying to work his legs and do all this good stuff. But and
right.
also the promo, Greg, I forgot on SmackDown of Ela Dawn, Alba Fire saying about the curse on the tag team titles. So they are listening to our damn show, darn royalty. Glad I got that off my chest.
There you go.
So we will get into Collision. Not, stuff that's leading into tonight. So we had Ricky Starks' big bill defeating Brian Danielson and Claudio Gregg. This is leading to Ricky Starks, Brian Danielson, Texas Death Match. Will Ricky Starks get that win tonight, Greg?
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It's like how many?
How many L's can he take Brian Danielson?
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have enough people backing him to, out heal Brian Danielson.
Yeah.
So I don't see how he's going to get the win, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did.
Yeah.
He's been very crafty, and he's been showing that he's willing to sink to any low to get the win.
Yeah.
Even beating the crap out of Ricky Steamboat,
Mm-hmm.
uh, the most wholesome wrestler in the world. So I put nothing above Ricky being Ricky, and backdooring his way to a win. So
Yeah. I would
um,
like Starks to get the win because I think he needs it at this rate. So, yeah. FTR defeated the Iron Savages. They're retaining their titles. Um, Keith Lee's next opponent, Greg, is going to be Shane Taylor. Does
hey,
anybody know what to do with Keith Lee, Greg? Does any promotion? And I feel bad because the guy's got all the tools, right?
he does. I
I
thought
mean,
they were on something with him and Swerve,
yeah,
and they just let that die without any payoff.
not even giving
Um,
us a one-on-one.
exactly. So what happened with that?
And then he gets
So
Goldust as a partner, and I'm like, okay, like if you're pushing that much, grasping that much, Greg, yeah. I mean, he might need to go just completely indie route again, and just reinvent himself somehow if he can. But I'm starting to get worried, Greg, that he just nobody knows how to use him.
I think you're right. So it's a bummer because he is talented, and man, if you need a reminder, just go back and watch those two, or actually three matches with Dijak,
Yeah,
and just remind yourself how amazing this guy can
I mean,
be.
look at his run. I mean, his
But
run in NXT was pretty solid. Him
yeah,
and the Adam
absolutely.
Cole stuff. So I mean, there's something there. I guess they just can't find how do you bottle it up? I guess as they say.
Yeah,
So,
I think he needs to go into Tony Khan's office with those matches and go watch this, and then
just let me
okay,
cook.
now feed me something.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes you have to remind people.
That's true. John Silver picked up a win. Aussie Open picked up a win. Andre El Idolo picked up a win, and then he had Jay White come out and call him out. Greg, what about that one? Jay White and Andrade. Which direction do you think will go for that to get the win?
Um, Bullet Club's pretty hot right now. They have strength in numbers. Andrade does not. Um, so I see some shenanigans happening, and Jay White getting the win.
Yeah, yeah. The Righteous, they're picking up wins, Greg, because they won against the Hardy Boys, Hardys, and then they won some tag team event last night, so they're going to get a Ring of Honor championship, uh, tag team championship match whenever Adam Cole's okay, and then Statlander, she's just like I said, she's picking up where Orange Cassidy left off, Greg. I swear she's going to beat his streak. Moxley won't now, so it's up to Chris Statlander to do that. So, what about Dynamite? Eddie Kingston, Greg, finally gets a
Hey,
world heavyweight title. Like, yes, he had the open strength, whatever, open strong title, but I don't think that was their world title. This is a legit Ring of Honor. I mean, he joins, the many names: CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Tyler Black,
yep,
Samoa Joe, Nigel McGuinness. I mean, Jay Lethal, Adam Cole, Kenny. Did Omega? No, maybe not Omega. No, Omega. Maybe Styles. Anyways, illustrious title, Greg. What a moment! That's the feel good moment I needed. That
yeah,
legit like finally overcoming it. He's going to cancel indie dates for the time being, just to focus on this and kind of get his body right. But what a match between him and Claudio, and then a little respect afterwards. So you
yep,
kind of wonder if that was a legit sign, Greg, that whatever it was between them, is kind of done now.
yeah. And that's what they were saying. This is it. This match. This is it. The end
Yeah,
of all of it.
yeah.
And we squash it right here. And I was happy to see Eddie get the win.
I
I
didn't think he was
hoped he
going
would. I
to.
didn't think he was going to either. So it was awesome to see him get that pin, because that kind of snuck in on me too. Because expect it to come off the hurricane, and he hit him with 3, 4, 5 hurricanes, and he still didn't go down or still didn't get a pin. And so pile driver does him in, and it was a great moment. So that dropped my jaw on the floor because I didn't expect that to
Oh,
happen.
yeah.
So great moment, loved it.
But, Greg, I got to give you all the flowers, all the pats on the back, all the whatever you
Yes,
want,
sir. The
because
Barry
Danny
Horowitz.
Guevara joins Don Callis' family, and we're building towards. So we're going to get Omega. So after last night, we had Omega show up to help defend off Takeshita and Guevara for Jericho. So we had Jericho and Omega teaming up with Ibushi, Greg, against, it's going to be Takeshita, Guevara, and a teammate to be named, TBA, which I think I will give myself the calling it out, Greg. It's going to be Garcia, which isn't that groundbreaking. I think there's just too much there for Daniel Garcia not to be involved with that aspect, especially with the stuff with Jericho, kind of on, wanting to get back at Jericho for, the Jericho Appreciation Society. And then I also like that people called out that Guevara and Jericho recreated Shawn Michaels and Jericho. That, like, film for film, still for still. So, if there's one thing Jericho loves, Greg, it's his WWE and WCW callbacks. Because that's not the first time I believe we've had kind of a callback to that. So Jericho picks up the win, but he ultimately lost a best friend.
Yep. So, Barry Horowitz for me, because saw that coming from a mile away, and it just fits perfectly into the narrative. Don Callis have taken everything from you, and now watch me take your best buddy right out from under your nose.
And that's why
boom, it
Garcia
happens.
makes a lot of I think, too.
So I think it's perfect. I love heel Sammy more than babyface Sammy anyway. Even babyface Sammy looked like heel Sammy. There wasn't much difference.
Yeah.
So just let him stay heel because that's where he does his best work. And the mystery partner, I'm with you on the on it being Danny Garcia, but to put this out into the atmosphere, going at it again, with John Moxley down. Who better to take his place in the BCC than that boy Danny Garcia, who we were angling to get in the BCC last year.
True. Yeah.
So I could definitely see a long overdue new member of the BCC with Danny Garcia.
Who would you slide into that mystery tag team partner for Takeshita and Guevara in the 3-person match? The 6-man match, sorry.
Right? Will Ospreay.
Yeah.
My favorite new dude.
Builds up, and that builds it up with Omega and Jericho.
Exactly.
Yep.
And leave Garcia for the BCC, and Will Ospreay is amazing, and just get him all the exposure, get him the big matches because he deserves it. He is amazing.
Yep.
And you have two super powered teams with those 6 guys in the match. So I would definitely put Will Ospreay in that spot because he needs more TV time on AEW anyway.
Yeah, and I guess it just all depends on what his contract status is. So, Ray Phoenix won. Pretty good match for what it was. Like I said, Moxley was going about half speed, Greg. So that's tough to pull that out of him. But Saraya picked up a win. I got to give myself the flowers, Greg, because what have they presented Toni Storm as? The fallen actress, and they even gave her the entrance of it. Oh, my goodness. It is so good. If RJ City could just be her manager, Greg, I would just be to the heavens. So now she's officially out of I realize I just kicked my camera way up, so I wasn't even in the frame. You're just seeing ahead of me, so that's kind of cool. But anyways, yeah. So Saraya and Ruby together. Could we angle for a new Outcast member maybe down the road? Because I don't know if you're going to be a faction, you need more than 2 people That's how I kind of
Agreed.
look at it. So, not really sure who that could be, but Saraya wins the match. Toni Storm's going to go off and do her best fallen actress gig, which I am loving, Greg.
Love it, love it. This match was great. And who didn't love the kiss before the end of the match?
Apparently, Saraya didn't.
I know. I think that
She
was
loved
totally.
it. I think she loved it a little too much. No.
Yeah, that was totally improv and improv Saraya all the way to HR. Go, this is not okay.
Yeah.
But the crowd popped huge for it. So
Goldust must have produced this match.
Oh, I don't doubt it. Just,
Remember
it was fantastic.
his own school stuff with him and Ramon Razor. They locked lips a couple times.
It was great. And Tony going and getting the most out of the whole shoe business, pulling shoes out from under the ring.
Oh yeah. I was wondering what she was doing. I thought they were going to use a stunt double, like she could go that route, like it's somebody else who looks like her, and then she gets sneaks in the win or something. But yeah, that was kind of weird to go under the ring to find a shoe, but she found a shoe. So,
yeah, I mean, she reminds me of Selena Vega and the chocolates.
Yep, chocolate.
Yeah, it's not a great idea, but I think what would be better is she taking the shoes off a fan. Yeah. And does that, but
you wonder, it could be like ECW days, Greg, and maybe somebody will just bring an extra shoe.
There you go. Oh, that could be a thing.
The best is I think in ECW one time somebody used, or no, our Kevin Nash using a prosthetic leg to beat somebody up. I think that was in WCW.
I think so.
He
Yeah.
had a fake leg, and he used somebody's leg to beat somebody up. So, anyways.
Or NXT UK with Grizzled Young Veterans, they had a gimmick with Zach Gibson and shoes.
Yes.
I forgot what that.
Yeah.
But people would bring shoes and for Zach Gibson, and so maybe they could do something like that, and people start bringing Toni Storm shoes.
Many Hispanics have told me you don't want that chancla on your backside, Greg. So that must really sting when it's performed right, as they say. And then MJF gets a win over Samoa Joe, but with some help, Greg, from Adam Cole, hiding tape that was in his fist of MJF. You know what, Greg? I'm starting to wonder, is the Kingdom going to align with Adam Cole and MJF? Because now that we're seeing more heel stuff, and the and then that little was the backstage segment where the Kingdom were there in the hospital bed, and Adam Cole was there. I mean, he went to go see Roddy. He didn't have to go see Roddy Strong in the hospital bed, and that bed needed some oil though, Greg, because the sound it was making as it was creeping up. But I'm starting to see the turning, Greg. If you have Adam Cole kind of healing it up, you have MJF. The Kingdom's already kind of, heels. Maybe we get a little, better than you Kingdom. Better than you Bebe Kingdom. Because Adam Cole already has the allegiance with them. So, and then nice show of respect by Samoa Joe. I think we both were pulling for him, Greg. If he didn't win the damn title then, Greg, unfortunately, he's never winning the damn title.
Yeah, it's a bummer, but you get why they're doing it, but I still would have loved seeing Joe beat Max, and it would just make too much sense right now. But
yeah, and I understand that too.
It's a bummer though, because I would love to see Samoa Joe as champ and go on a reign of terror, kind of way he did with the what he's done with the TV title, and just run through everybody. So
yeah. So, anyways, and who knows? Maybe down the road, Samoa Joe finds his way back in there, Greg. But I think he's just always going to be one of those. What if? What if he got the WWE title? What if he got the AEW title? Which is never a good thing. But anyways, a lot happened on Rampage, according to all this stuff, Greg. Sting and Darby Allin won. That kind of sets up tonight. Since we're getting the triple threat match, which is essentially a 2-on-1 match between Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Darby Allin. What do you think comes out of that, Greg? Is this a way to? Is it a way to get Christian Cage the win and the title?
That seems the most obvious thing. Can he finger poke a Doom Lord Luchasaurus? I don't think he'd go for that, but I think he could find a way to capitalize on Luchasaurus's finisher and taking the pin, stealing the pin from Luchasaurus.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that's where we're going.
We had Hook, Orange Cassidy, and Chris Statlander pick up a win. Nothing beats Greg. Orange Cassidy asking Hook, do you want a tag team? And Hook responds and very eloquently says, yeah. So there we go. Our new tag team together, Hook and Orange Cassidy. So Anna Jay, Daddy Magic, and Angela Parker, Greg, are going to be Job Squad 3-point, whatever we're on, or whatever points we're on, right? Because they are in a lot of segments, but they're not doing anything. So, yeah. Anyway, the Righteous got up a win. We did have Don Callis and Guevara, give an in-ring presentation, segment, so which we needed to let that breathe out. So, the Righteous go after the ROH World Tag Team titles. The Acclaim kept picking up wins. Julia Hart picked up a win, Greg, over Sky Blue. But I saw Sky Blue getting modeling shots, Greg, so all was well there. Nothing wrong with her
right.
Getting some content, as they say. So, Santana, what do we think about Santana and Ortiz? Who will be the Marty and who will be the Shawn out of that tag team, Greg?
Well, I know I thought they were saying that Santana was going to be more of a singles.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Sorry,
that's what I meant. So who will have the better? Who do you think is going to get the better push? Is it going to be Santana? Do we think?
That's just because that's the way they're angling for it right now. It's going to be Santana. I'm not certain of it. I think Ortiz has more character and more, more depth.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see it. I'm going to miss him as a tag team because.
Do you think we get a one-on-one with them, or is there too much? I think there's too much real life beef that they might come to real life blows.
Yeah, I think that's probably it. Is that they've had too many issues, but just between themselves that we don't need to see that acted out on TV now. Yeah. They stay together, and even if they're not a team, stay buddy.
Yeah. And then the Young Bucks get another trios title, Greg. You signed an extension, give yourselves a title reign, right?
So you just stop with being EVPs and being active wrestlers. It just seems like you're crowning yourselves. And
not that the Mogul Embassy was really doing anything with them.
It's about building stars, and
that's true. Yeah.
The Young Bucks and Hangman, they're already stars. So,
I guess this does give it now you're going to see it on Dynamite or Collision. Like you're going to see, and that's what's so weird about this Ring of Honor stuff, though, right? Like it should be its own kind of thing.
I agree. There should be a Ring of Honor television show by now. I mean, get rid of one of these Rampage or Collision and put an ROH product in there, just like NXT, and just have it being solely ROH.
Unless they're just waiting for that streaming deal. I think right now it's on Ring of Honor TV. So unless you get Ring of Honor TV or Honor Club, then we're not seeing any of this. So.
Right.
And then, like we said tonight, FTR is going to defend the titles. Jay White will defend the titles. I think I agree with you, Greg. This is a way to get Christian Cage the actual championship. Many people are high on him, so there you go. Rob Van Dam and Hook. There's another random tag team. Don't ask me why. I was thinking Rob Van Dam was a one-off, Greg, but apparently not. So they are live from Michigan, so that might be why. He's from Battle Creek, Michigan. But and then
Right.
Will Nightingale and Julia Hart. I see Julia just picking up wins here and there. So any thoughts on anything for Collision tonight? Pretty stacked card, though. I will say that. I think it's a pretty good mix of they're really trying to build up Collision.
Yeah,
After
it
the
does
whole
look good.
after CM
Um,
Punk's departure.
yeah, but I don't know about you, but I haven't been on every Collision.
I have not
Um,
been on every
so
Collision.
it's
We
it's
got
not
some.
appointment viewing yet, but
Yeah,
something like this will help get it there.
yeah,
But so I'm gonna try to see it tonight. Work gets in the way. I have to get up so early gets in the
yeah,
way, and you know that TiVo is getting loaded up.
yeah.
But
Well, that's what we've
yeah,
said too. Like we love wrestling, Greg, but we also, man, there's a lot of wrestling that we have to try to, you know, consume throughout the week. So,
yeah, we need to sleep sometime.
and some nights I just, I love wrestling, I love it, but sometimes I'm just like, I'm not in the mood to watch it. Like I mean, we all, just like a TV show. But yeah, so that's kind of what I got. Anything for the good of the matter, Greg? Your Chargers, yeah, 0-2. Are you doing? Are we doing justice for San Diego or for San Diego yet?
Man, dude, it's part of being a Charger fan is that they find new and creative ways to rip your guts out. Um, that's two games in a row now that it's come down to the last possession,
Yeah.
um, and they could just as easily be 2-0 as 0-2.
Yeah.
But they gave up
Record
the
is what
sacks
it is.
against. Exactly. They gave up the sacks that stopped the run at the end of the first game, and then
Yep.
got the game to overtime, only to give up the field goal to lose it in overtime. They lost two games by 5 points.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah. It's not. It's pretty.
brutal seeing it
That's
start this
about
way.
as That's about as close as you can be. And my
Yeah,
Colts will see what Minshew Gardner can do tomorrow, Greg. Gardner Minshew. Anthony Richardson out with concussion. Give him a week to kind of let that play off. So, um, like people joke, what happens if Gardner goes out there and beats the Ravens? you know, it's still about the
right.
long term plan. I mean, you put Richardson right back in the starting lineup because you don't draft him that high, Greg, just to try to get a playoff run this year with Gardner Minshew. Like if that was the case, we wouldn't have drafted him.
Right.
So I still
Well,
see it. It would still be lovely to have Jonathan Taylor back after the pup list. We'll see where he's at, but because I keep bringing up. I mean, if he wants to prove himself, he's got to play, even if he doesn't want to play for the if he's not going to get the extension with the Colts. It's almost a tryout for other teams, right? So it's like
exactly.
you can't just hold out with a down season last year. Yes, you had a great 21, 22. Well, ridiculously great. Sorry, not even great, but I mean, I don't know. You still got to prove yourself somewhat. Um, so we shall see. But I guess, and the weather might be a thing. There's a hurricane possibly heading up towards that east coast, towards
Right.
the Maryland area. So we could be in for some wild weather in the Baltimore and Colts game, Greg, and I think a couple other games affected in the DC area. So it doesn't look like it's going to hit you guys. It looks like it'll be more northern. So
Right.
good on
Right.
good on your end, but it could be some big heavy rain, which that's when you want you want a darn good running back, right? So it's too bad,
Exactly.
but
We had our rain here or our hurricane down here.
yeah,
Now it's turned for it to go up
yeah.
a little bit higher.
So it looks like it
Um,
might hit that that Maryland area tomorrow. So or maybe early tonight or late tonight, and could just kind of stand out. So we'll kind of have to see. You definitely see some interesting weather games with my Colts that one Buffalo game in the snow where they had to. I think they had to walk out the 10-yard lines, 10 yards, so that they could see, just because the snow was so bad. But yeah, uh, I guess it makes you thankful for a dome
Correct.
when you don't have to worry about that. So, but anyway. All
All
right,
right.
well we'll
One
leave you with.
bonus. One
Sorry.
bonus.
Yeah.
Because this morning I got to check in somebody we both know at the
Uh
airport
oh.
this morning,
Uh
and a certain Bulgarian brute.
oh. Little Miro action.
Yeah, he came
Was
in,
the
checked him
hot,
in this
flexible
morning.
wife with him?
She was not,
Uh oh.
but
Did he have a ring
apparently
on?
still had the ring on.
Okay.
Apparently, there was a bachelor party,
Mm.
and I was like, anybody that I know? And he's like, no, it was CJ's or his son-in-law. So CJ's brother was having
Okay.
a bachelor
Bachelor.
party here
Okay.
in Charleston,
Okay.
and he was here for the party
Oh,
and was going back to DC on his way to his final destination. So
okay.
got to
Shake
chop
hands
it
with
up with
Miro.
Miro and give him some flowers. Put him over a little bit while he was here, and didn't get the picture. Didn't want to do that to him, but
Yeah.
it was cool getting to sit there and talk to him for a few minutes. There's nobody in the airport, and
Oh,
um, we had some time to for me to love on him a little bit,
oh yeah.
watch the whole big fan bit, so
And I've
uh,
I've
cool
met him
moment there.
twice, Greg. One was by happens, uh, WrestleMania 30. We were at a cafe, and he was there, and I'm like, it was early NXT days. So of course I pull up my phone to be do a double take, and I was just like, hey, I got a small picture. Um, then his access, I felt so bad for the guy, Greg. So this is WrestleMania 30 access.
Uh,
We're in his line. Well, no, we're not in his line because then they didn't have anybody announced outside. Like you didn't know who was going to be where. So we just jumped in the line. His line was very full for the time being because nobody knew who was coming. He comes out, sits down, all that line just leaves. Just they all. You see people getting under going under like the the ropes, whatever the pull up ropes. I felt something. Me and my brother maybe we should just go over there in his line. Yeah. So and then I did meet him at a bookstore. I think it was a release of the encyclopedia, like the WWE encyclopedia. Him and Lana were there, and I was like, "Oh, I met you before." He's like, "Oh yeah, you wearing that same shirt?" Like he was just joking with me because I don't think I was wearing the same shirt, but I played it up. I was like, "Yeah." So anyway, and she did not say much because I think she was still doing. I don't think she wanted to give out the accent.
that she
She's
wasn't Russian.
from Florida. She's well, I never realized she was in all the Pitch Perfects too.
Really?
Small bit roles, or maybe at least two of them. But um, yeah, small bit roles in there. So anyway, so now we can both have that attached to our resumes. So
Yep.
it's
And I got
always
to
good.
see Fall in reverse with Avenged Sevenfold this week.
Okay, who
So I
was
got to hear Zombified live
there? You go.
this week. So Paige's entrance music
Oh,
from
okay.
Soraya.
Wait, is that her? Is her boyfriend in that band?
Yeah, Soraya's dating Ronnie
Ronnie.
Radke, who's
Yeah.
the lead singer of Falling in Reverse.
They or did they had the headliner?
What's that?
Were they the headliner, or was Avenged Sevenfold?
Avenged Sevenfold was.
Okay, I was just curious because I know Avenged Sevenfold had a pretty hot, couple months there back in the day, especially with MTV. I think that Backcountry song video was on all the time.
Yeah.
I think they even won an MTV Video Award for it. But they had like a little hot run there, Greg, and then they just kind of went. Well, I think their politics got in the way. But
Probably. Yeah.
they and that Ronnie guy, he's not exactly wholesome, clean cut character from what I've read. So,
Yeah, he's a little.
but it's not like Soraya loves I think we've seen Soraya's dating history, Greg, and she definitely
Yeah,
has a type.
she has a rock star thing. Yeah,
She has
for
a type.
sure.
So, just yeah. So, anyways, well, that was fun. Yeah, I think. Well, what do we got? Well, my big concert will be Queen in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from Tuesday. So
Nice.
in Detroit, we cannot wait. That is just to be so awesome. So, like we said, I mean, how many opportunities are you gonna get? You're gonna get to see Queen. Like so, we
True.
had to jump on it. So. All right, well, let's end it there and call it a day, and we'll let you know what time next week. I'm getting tatted up at 3, Greg. So we might have to do. I wonder if we have to. We might have to do a little later show, but you're needing later anyway. We might just do a No Mercy Wrestle Dream preview show. Maybe we'll
Make
just
it
do
work.
that. Maybe we'll just do that and kind of catch up on everything the week after. I think that'll be Fastlane. So yeah, we can always catch up then after the Fastlane predictions. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think we'll just do maybe a prediction show next week, and maybe a little bit later. I'm hoping to be done by 5, but you just never know. With tattoos, because it just takes. It's artistry. So I think I'm getting a little bit bigger one too, so it might take a little bit longer than I'm thinking. But yeah, and I will unveil it when I get it. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Nice.
All right. Well, we will talk to you guys next week, and have a good week.
Peace.